a special one-night-only event. The Geeks Worldwide Capes Podcast coming to you live and hosted from the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina from the one and only, all right, the real Brad Bell. Casey has given me the honor tonight, and it is an honor and a privilege to be your esteemed host. I can't fill the ginormous shoes that Will has left us, Darth Sparrow, but I will try to keep on keeping on. And joining me tonight from Sweden, he is one of the big wigs, one of the bosses at Geeks Worldwide, Mr. Everett. Harn, how you doing, man?
Jesus Christ. I don't know, man. Every time I'm on a show with a host, they always give me some like grandiose introduction, and it just makes me feel really awkward for the rest of the I'm doing all right.
With me, you know, it's sarcasm, so.
Right.
Nah, I'm just kidding, Everett. I love you, man.
Doing all right.
Well, he stayed up extra late to talk comics with us tonight, so that's awesome. Thank you, Everett. All right, and now we have the most well-established, most renowned writer, maybe, at Geeks Worldwide. The only bad thing about him is he has a Tom Brady jersey in his background. But Mr. John Reyes, it's good to see you again, my friend.
What's up? Yeah, who needs Star Wars for nostalgia? This is great. All of us podcasted about like 6 months ago or before that. It's been a while.
And
but it's nice.
Dog in the background.
Yeah,
so.
I gotta have that. That's classic. Bring it back.
I love it. I just want to hear a bunch of heavy breathing over the mic and a bunch of clicks and pops from all of us, and then we'll feel like we're back on the Geeks on Screen podcast.
Funny.
No, I'm just kidding. Everett worked so hard on that podcast. I've never seen overlays like that, Everett. They still blow me away every time I click on those. But tonight we are lucky enough to basically have this beautiful outlet to discuss the things in geekdom we want to. There's no guest. We love our guests. We appreciate our guests. But every once in a while, it's just good to come together and talk about these properties that we all love so much. So before we get into news, and we got a little discussion topic we're going to throw out there toward the end of the show, we're going to get into our Week in Geek. So, Mr. John Reyes, what have you been checking out in Geek this week?
Should I start with comics and then go from there?
Yeah, you go with comics, throw in anything you want there, man.
All right. Well, I know. So I went to the. I've been using Comixology for a lot of stuff, but then I missed reading the physical copies of stuff. So I went to the comic book store about a week ago, and I got. It was just about around the time when I started watching Daredevil a few weeks back, but I finally read it. Like the last week is The Punisher. From Edmondson and Gerrits. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. But it's the first trade of it, and it's actually really good. It's like dark, gritty, really gets you into the character of Punisher. And it gave me a good kind of having seen the show. This kind of gave me a good like foundation in how he really is. Like I felt like I understood him more after reading it and having seen it and everything. So it's really good. The artwork and everything is really good. And then finally, for people who had GWW know me, I love Star Wars Rebels, and I think Brad, you suggested to me. I finally got Kanan.
I love it too. Oh, so Kanan! Yeah, I remember I wrote the review for the first issue, and I may have pissed Greg Wiseman off. So. Yeah,
I got the trade. I read the first issue. I haven't gotten farther. But I really love it. The artwork's really, really good. And I love the nod to the show where they show all the characters in the first panel, which was really cool. I really liked it. And the artwork's sick. Insane.
It was funny because I was going to say, man, I heard that book really sucked, but then Brad said that he was the one that reviewed it, and I was like, oh yeah, I heard it from Brad.
He's like, it's really good. Everett just went to the total opposite thing. But no, actually, I read the trade after I read the first issue. I trade weighted it, and once I was able to read it in one big chunk, I didn't love it, but I definitely liked it. And as you get later on in the story, past the first trade, there will be events that there was one week where something happened on the show, then the comic came out, and it was like picking up right from the show, at least in this little flashback. So that was some real tight continuity. John, let me ask you a question about the Punisher. So you like John Bernthal's interpretation, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
That really the first time you've sit down and like really read Frank Castle and dug into the comics version of the character?
Oh yeah, definitely the first time.
Do you think is he not a superhero? He doesn't have superpowers, but is he a hero? I know he's an anti-hero, but if you had to classify him as a hero per se, would you say he was?
Yeah, and I like how the Daredevil season 2, they really tackle that question with everybody really in the show, which I really liked, but especially with the Punisher because of what he does. He just kills, and there's like no mercy, and that's his way of justice. And I when I watch the show and when I read the comic, I do look at him in a very positive way, in a heroic way, where I'm rooting for him. The comic didn't make me feel how the show did, where I did feel kind of like it made me say, oh, wait a minute, I don't know about that. And then with the comic, I do feel like he is a hero. So yeah, I'll say he's a hero.
I always have been entertained by Punisher. I like the Thomas Jane film that was out in like 2004. I didn't like Punisher Warzone, even though that was just like batshit crazy.
I love Punisher Warzone.
I like Bernthal's portrayal of the character too, but that's just never clicked with me. It's like he has no code. It's the total opposite of Batman, right? Yeah. He has no powers like Batman, but unlike Batman, he has no code, unless you're talking about, you know, Zack Snyder's Batman. Then he's more like the Punisher. So,
well, Punisher's code's that he kills people who deserve it. The bad guys.
That's true. That's true.
To John's point, like, I think the difference between Bernthal's interpretation, how you feel about him, versus the comic book, I think it's one thing whenever he, like, in the show, he begins as like the antagonist almost.
Yeah.
But in the comic book, he's the main character. He's the one you're hearing the thoughts of, whereas the show he's not. So I think whenever you're like inside Frank Castle's head, you're on his side, and that's definitely not the way the show is.
Yeah.
Now there's a new Punisher book coming out from Marvel next month. It's going to be written by Becky Cloonan, so they're going to have a female writer on Punisher. A lot of people are really excited about that. You think you'll pick that up, John, at least for one issue? Or are you just doing trades now?
Yeah, that's definitely got me interested, because Becky Cloonan's really good too. So
she's a great artist too.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
She's really good. So I'll definitely check. Yeah, no, I didn't even know about that, so that's cool.
Yep, coming out next month. I cannot remember. I think it may be Dennis Hopeless who's doing the art on it, but don't quote me on that. So anything else, John? What else for Week in Geek for you?
I guess I haven't really played much of games over the last few days, which is bothering me now because I've been so busy. But I gotta say, I started watching. I'm 20 minutes into Justice League War on Netflix, which is actually really, really cool. It's interesting so far. I haven't gotten deep enough to really say anything really much about it, but it's neat just to see I know the beginning. It's a little minor spoiler. It's like Green Lantern and Batman kind of have this back and forth, which is really neat. Which I like. I never saw that before. It kind of gave Batman a humorous side that you rarely see.
Except the 66 show. You get a lot of that in Adam West.
Yeah. But the only other thing I would say is probably I'm only two episodes in. I wouldn't really count it as geeky, but I started watching Banshee, that show on Cinemax. My cousin mentioned it to me, and I've seen like the marketing for the new season. It's the final season now. I started watching it. Brutally violent. Hasn't really grabbed me yet, but it's violent, like really violent. But it's good.
Me. I think I got like maybe 5 or 6 episodes in. I just fell off. I'm not sure why, but
yeah, the last episode I saw was episode 2. I haven't seen it for about a week now, so it hasn't like hooked me in yet. Maybe it won't.
Right.
It's very dull, Very, very dull.
That sounds exciting. That's a thrilling.
Dull and violent.
That's a thrilling endorsement. I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't work for them.
Sounds like Hostel 3.
I can see it on the DVD case now, the Blu-ray case. Dull and violent. Geeks Worldwide.
Right. John Reyes.
The thing with Banshee, there's the show, there's the X-Men character, and then there's Banshee and DC. So there's like 3 Banshees and Silver Banshee. And I really don't give a crap about any of them, but take it for what it's worth. What else, John? Anything else besides Banshee?
Well, I guess the usual stuff. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's about it. In terms of that stuff, yeah. So that's all I've really been doing with that.
That's a good productive week in Geek, considering how busy you've been, man. But you'll look back on this time and be like, man, I miss those days when you get really busy. But that's cool, John. Thank you very much. What about you, Mr. Everett Harn over in Sweden?
So I guess I'll start off with comics, just because I actually read a few before the show in preparation. The much talked about Moon Knight #1, as you can see here, by Jeff Lemire. Oh man, so good, so damn good. Like Moon Knight's one of my dudes. Like I love that guy. I wrote like a whole character spotlight on him on the GWW if you want to know more about Moon Knight. But the whole comic, man, it's a trip. Like it starts off and it kind of has the same feel to Sucker Punch, that movie. Sucker Punch.
Another Zack Snyder joint there.
Right, where like the main character is like in an insane asylum, which if you know anything about Moon Knight, you know he's got like multiple whatever personality disorder of some sort. He's got like 3 different personalities. But like the whole comic, the whole #1 just takes you through and makes you question if what freaking Mark Spector is seeing and experiencing, if it's real or not. And by the end of the comic, you have no clue, like, if what he's thinking is true or what, like, they show you glimpses of is the actual reality, because he is crazy and you're seeing it through his mind. So it's really spectacular. I really enjoyed it. I basically only read Marvel, so one of the books I picked up was The Ultimates #5 by Al Ewing.
Would you consider this like a flagship Avengers book more than you would say Uncanny Avengers or All New, All Different? Because some people are calling this like the big Avengers book with the big scale threats. Do you agree?
Oh, definitely. This is the team that takes care of the first issue. They're like, we're going after Galactus.
Who's on that team? I know Black Panther's on that team. Do you recall?
It's Blue Marvel, Black Panther, America Chavez, Captain America, and then Spectrum.
Sam Wilson Cap. Or old Cap.
Or not Captain America, Captain Marvel.
Oh, Captain Marvel. Okay.
Sorry, people are really freaking out. But the reason to read is Blue Marvel, man. He's fucking awesome. And if you know anything about Blue Marvel, the past 2 issues, 4 and 5, have been dealing with his backstory, and they brought back in Anti-Man, which was like his arch nemesis / ex-best friend. And they're doing some cool stuff, man. They like re-incubated Galactus and turned him from the World Eater to the Life Bringer now. Like, he goes to planets and brings life to
I
them.
remember seeing the solicit. It's like, holy shit, Galactus is in the Avengers?
Yeah, he's orange.
That's
He's
cool,
orange
man.
now.
And not Cloud Galactus, like Galactus.
Cloud
right?
Galactus from Fox, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the last thing I read, just to prep for tomorrow's releases, is Karnak #2, because I hadn't read that, by Tom Ellis. Karnak, man, it's one of those comics that is coming out so slow, but it's so good. Like he's probably
Warren Ellis who's writing that?
Warren Ellis, is that? Yeah, Warren Ellis.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry,
Man, you got
Tom Ellis.
It's good they're coming out slow. You got to think about his stuff like pretty in depth, man.
Right, and this issue actually, like at the very end, I had to go back and reread it a couple times, but for the most part of number 2 is just Karnak just kicking the shit and killing dudes. Like he's awesome, and I didn't know a whole lot. Like I'm not a big Inhumans fan, but I didn't know a whole lot about Karnak. I didn't realize he wasn't like he's an Inhuman by blood, I guess, but he doesn't have any like Terrigen Mist powers. Like the whole like he can sense weaknesses and stuff, I guess, is just like a natural thing that he's learned. So that's interesting. So they got like some drama in there about, how he's a non-Terrigen Mist based person and kind of some kind of racism going on between the Inhumans, but that's cool. But anyways, other than those comics, I'm basically just spending my months waiting for Squadron Supreme and Hyperion to come out. And Hyperion comes out tomorrow. Hyperion number 2.
I know. I love Hyperion. I have not read either Squadron Supreme or Hyperion. I think I'm going to wait for the trade for that, Everett, before I read it. But I love those, like, Superman, rip-off characters. Like, I love Hyperion. I love the Sentry.
Well, the cool thing is, in the Squadron Supreme book, they, like, finalized Hyperion being, like, the actual Superman ripoff because they were like, oh, we found this purple crystal in Weird World that makes him, like, immune to, or that can damage him and magic.
Oh, my God.
He's now weak to magic, and he's like, I didn't think I had any weaknesses. It's like, oh, yeah, he's got all Superman's weaknesses. So
the sad thing is, Hyperion in that comic book that I have not read, I'm willing to bet he may be more interesting than, like, the portrayal that Zack Snyder gave us.
Oh, definitely.
And I didn't hate Batman versus Superman. I didn't hate it. Didn't love it.
Well, the funny thing is, a lot of people hate that Superman because he kills. And Hyperion is that Superman that kills.
Yeah, but that's Hyperion. It's okay. But
right.
I'm not opening up BVS. I'm done with that. I've closed that chapter in my life. I have.
Well, I've been telling people that if you want a really good Justice League of America book, read Squadron Supreme.
Yeah, who writes Squadron Supreme? Do you know off the top of your head? Because I do not.
If you give me 2 seconds, I can look it up.
Yeah, look it up, because I'm willing to bet, and this is not meant to insult anybody at DC, but I'm willing to bet that whoever writes Squadron Supreme will do a better job than Brian Hitch will do on Justice League of America, because guess what? This person's probably an actual writer, and Brian Hitch is an artist. So if you wonder why the quality of Justice League struggles, it's because the artist is writing it. Sorry if I'm sounding negative.
Well...
But
yeah, you're pretty negative most of the time, anyways, Brad.
No, I'm usually like generally positive, but this week I have been negative. But I have some reasons, and we'll get to those later. But I've been reading a crap ton of Marvel too, Everett. You're a smart man. I tell you what, I looked at for like 1 second is what they sent me in my shipment of comics, which is the DC Rebirth previews. There you go with that over the shoulders. But I will say that, like John, I've read digital, I've done Marvel Unlimited. We're fortunate enough sometimes to get press kits of stuff and be able to read that digital, and that's great. You get the high-def screen and all that, but there's just something I think John will agree about having the book in your hand.
Right.
Some things are better in hand and not on the screen, if you know what I mean. Okay.
By the way, just real quick, it's James Robinson that writes Squadron Supreme, and he's doing awesome, and we can't get him on for an interview, which sucks, but yeah, he's great. Go for it.
That's for my last joke, not for James Robinson. But,
I was about to say, I totally...
Now, James Robinson's a fantastic writer. I wish he was writing Justice League.
Be on the show.
Yeah, for real. All right, so... I read. Let's start out with the big book that I guess is a week old now, but Black Panther #1. And the only way I'm really familiar with Black Panther is through Avengers stuff. I've never dived too deep in on the character, so it was cool to basically be able to get a closer look into Wakanda and an actual Black Panther focused story. The premise of this book, I know, has kind of been explained maybe too much by now, But Black Panther has been away doing Avengers stuff. You know, they dealt with the whole flood from Namor in the events of Avengers versus X-Men. So he's coming back. His sister's been killed, who was leading the Wakanda people. He's reclaiming the throne, and guess what? His people don't want him. So there's a revolt and uprising, and there is basically what looks like a pending civil war in Wakanda. And the thing is, this is a real political book for a comic book. So if you want some easy, mindless read, don't pick up Black Panther. Not saying it's a bad book, but it's just you're going to be doing some thinking, and they're going to dive deep into the character. I'm really excited about this book. What's interesting is this is this writer's first comic. He's a very successful artist, Ta-Nehisi Coates, and Brian Stilfree's on the art. Laura Martin's doing the colors. I mean, just fantastic, eye-popping colors. So I think this is a book that sold like gangbusters because people were so excited to see Black Panther in Civil War, and they kind of want to check out this character. The only problem with this, it references a bunch of older stuff, so it's not the most inviting issue. Not saying you need to know this character backwards and forwards to enjoy it, but it does help. Okay, so I highly recommend it. Black Panther #1.
Did you get the sense that that's like part of the current Marvel continuity, or do you think it's like kind of a standalone Black Panther joint that's supposed to like fill people that are wanting to know more about him in? Because I mean, like, Black Panther's in the Ultimates. That's like way out in space.
Yeah.
And he doesn't ever like reference anything else that's going on.
It's so weird because, and I know Agasicles is like pissed off by this kind of thing, but it feels like it's in like pre-Secret Wars continuity. Because like we're referencing stuff like Avengers versus X-Men, which I know it happened, but I don't know. It is odd. I feel like it's in some continuity. I know that's not the best answer for your question, but yeah, to me, continuity is important. I would be lying if I said it wouldn't, because I kind of crapped on DC for getting some, either being too continuity driven or not giving us enough continuity and flipping back and forth on the stuff. And I was like, just pick one. So,
man, I want that continuity. I want to eat that continuity up.
And Marvel's usually really good with that continuity. They usually give us plenty of it. But if it's a good story enough to suck me in, especially with this one that has the great art, great colors, fantastic writing, like writing that's going to be, you know, too smart for a lot of people, including probably me, I still found some enjoyment out of it. So I recommend it. It didn't take me out of the story. Now, it would probably take Agasicles out of the story because he's a brilliant guy, and he picks and dissects stuff apart in a good way most of the time.
Man, I was talking to Agasicles earlier this week, and we were talking about the freaking Weird World art, the Del Mundo art, and like we got in. Well, we were talking about just Del Mundo's art in general, and we got talking about the Elecktra comic from 2014-15, and so now I'm like going back and reading that, and I blame Agasicles.
Now, like, you cannot get it out of your head, can you? You just see that art, and you're like, yeah. Let's see. I also read Mark Waid and Adams Kubert's All Different Avengers #7. This is where we get it to them going into standoff. The best part of this book is a really, really cool moment. Everett, I know you read this title, so have you read #7 yet?
I haven't. I've read up to #6.
Okay, so I'm not going to spoil anything here, but there's a really cool moment between Sam Wilson and Lady Thor, and if you don't know, they shared a intimate moment that wasn't that authentic earlier in this run by Mark Waid, and they're really getting into the sacrifice that Jane Foster is making to be a hero, that every time she becomes Thor, it almost undoes her chemo treatments. So it's slowly killing her. So I hate to see where this is going to wind up. I do think it will end up in a death eventually, but I think it'll be a meaningful death, not like a gimmicky death. So
It's not going to be meaningful because she could just go lay in like that weird medical bed. Like if she weren't like an outcast or whatever, you know, like she's like, I got to fight this on my own. And it's just like, come on, Jane, just.
I love the premise of Standoff, though. I hate that it crosses over to so many books, but it is a very good like prequel setup to Civil War, in my opinion. They've taken shards of Tesseract, or as they call it in the comics, a cosmic cube, and they're using that to create a 1950-ish reality in which prisoners are in prison or supervillains are in prison, but they think they're living like a Leave It to Beaver life. And apparently they have. This is where it gets really weird, guys. So listen up. Apparently they have formed a human girl out of a cosmic cube who's basically really freaking powerful. Like it's not Wanda Maximoff's powerful, but in a way she harnesses that type of power. She can kind of bend that reality. So have you seen this chick, this girl, Everett? She's creepy, dude.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, we're checking out.
Is that the issue where they bring back Wasp? I know they were bringing her back from the dead.
No, that's coming up like right after Standoff's over. I just got the Women of Marvel like variant cover. So
that's totally Wasp on the cover.
Oh yeah, no, that's a sweet cover. All these covers were sweet, man. So if y'all want to comment on any of these, pipe in too. I feel like I'm talking too much, but I read a bunch of comics, and it's a comics podcast. So Daredevil. I read the first 5 issues, Charles Soule, and I love this art that Garney does. It reminds me of something different than the Frank Miller art, but something kind of in the same vein. I like this story. He's got this sidekick Blind Spot, who's an awesome character that Charles Soule's created. Matt is now a prosecutor, which I think fits him better than a defense attorney personally, even though I know that's the classic take. You got a great new villain, a guy named Ten Fingers. You have the Hand showing up, but with a new bad guy, this giant demonic guy called the Fist. I love this book, Everett. Are you reading it?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You like it?
Yeah. I talk about it in the Daredevil podcast that I do. I actually thought that maybe Ten Fingers was going to be one of the bad guys in the new Daredevil series because you had that Lord Hiroshi, who's the leader of the Hand in that show, talking about how he wants to take all 10 fingers from his victims and stuff. And I was like, 10 fingers? Are they gonna have 10 fingers in this show? But no, they didn't.
You think it was an Easter egg, or you think it was just kind of coincidence?
The way they said the boss wants all 10 fingers, I feel like it was some kind of Easter egg. Because who says that?
Yeah, nobody says that. That sounds so forced, but really cool if you're reading the comic.
I really want to get into the Daredevil by Charles Soule, but I'm gonna wait. The trade's coming out at the end of May, so I think I'm gonna just wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's worth the wait, man.
I'm with you, Brad. Man, that art, it's kind of just like black, white, and red. That's all it is, and it's so nice.
It's perfect for Daredevil. I wouldn't want Captain America or Iron Man done in that art style. But
it's funny because I think isn't there a new Elecktra comic coming out as well? I feel like
I think so.
With Punisher coming out and that Daredevil comic and a new Elecktra comic, they're really just going to start pumping out all those characters, and I think it'll be good.
And they got a limited, I'm not reading it. I don't plan on reading it because I've really kind of cut out a lot of mini-series. I'll just get those in trade. But they're going to do a Daredevil Punisher. They're doing it now. So on issue 2 coming up, a little mini-series. But you can tell that's complete trying to capitalize off the show. It's so funny as you have read comics so long, you don't fall for some of the gimmicks. So, I was looking for some of the books coming out this week online at MidtownComics.com, where I order some of my comics from sometimes. John, you're in New York, aren't you?
Yep.
Have you ever been to Midtown Comics?
Yeah. It's an awesome place. Really cool.
Dude. I order a lot of my books from there. So they've always...
That place is surreal. If you're a comics fan, movie fan, whatever, it's insane in there.
Yeah, and they got like a couple locations. There's a Times Square one, and then there's another one too, I believe. So
Yeah.
that's pretty damn cool. If I ever go to visit New York anytime in the near future, I'm definitely going to see John first and have a drink with him, and then we're gonna go down to Midtown Comics. And yeah. All right, but I said I can spot some gimmicks because you see books coming out like, let me think, Avengers Head to War or something. That's not the name of the title, but you can tell it's like some like complete, all right, let's make a few bucks off of somebody just getting into comics for Civil War movie. And that, I feel like maybe that's what that Daredevil Punisher miniseries is. So not trying to slight anybody who worked on that book, but that's just the way it is. But
yeah, I don't buy those gimmick Marvel comics, but
you know what I'm talking about, right? Like you can spot them from a mile away.
Right.
Yeah. I read this one, guys. I love this cover too because I got the hip hop variants. I love these. This is the so speaking of Daredevil, Mark Waid finished Daredevil that he was doing with Chris Samney, and they went over as a team. Chris Samney writes and he does the art too, so he co-writes this with Mark Waid, and they did Black Widow. So I've read this is issue 1, but I've read the first 2 issues. This is the opposite of Black Panther. This is the mindless, like action-packed, like fist pump comic book, like yes, just badass Natasha Romanoff. So I highly recommend this book if you just want to like decompress after a long day or something. Have either one of y'all seen this or checked it out?
I'll definitely check it out because maybe if they have a good Black Widow like individual comic, that they'll give us a good Black Widow movie.
Dude, I'm just going to tell you, the whole first issue is one action scene. It is Black Widow stealing something, I won't say what, I'm not going to spoil it, from a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, and chaos ensues. Okay? Not that we hadn't seen something like that before, but the way this is just laid out, I mean, it's Mark Waid, man. It's the guy that wrote Kingdom Come. I mean, it's going to be impressive. But speaking of Kingdom Come, speaking of DC, I told you, I've read a lot, guys. I've read a lot. So my wife's been working a lot, so I had time to read some comics.
What a geek.
I read Trinity. My wife actually read this. My wife loves Wonder Woman. So she loves Wonder Woman. She loves Captain America. And so if anytime I pick up something with those characters, she reads it. So that's pretty cool. Trinity, man. I've heard of this book. There's a lot of books named Trinity, but this is like the definitive Trinity book. And I think we may have had this guy on this podcast before, Matt Wagner.
Matt Wagner.
Yeah. And
I'm doing good with first names today, by the way.
Oh, you're doing awesome, man. You're on it. But like, this is, instead of buying Batman vs. Superman on Blu-ray, the R-rated cut, if you hadn't gone and seen the movie, go buy this book. It was $8 or $10 on InStockTrades.com, and it was way more worth. It was worth way more, excuse me, than my tickets to BVS were. And again, I didn't hate BVS, but man, Superman in this book, he doesn't try to act like Batman. Like, he is actually happy. And it makes it interesting when Bruce and Clark talk because they're not the same exact character.
Does Jesse Eisenberg show up?
No. Lex Luthor is not in this. Diana is awesome, as always. But basically, it's really cool because the plot is Reyes, however you want to say it. Some people say Roz.
Arrow took like season 3. They changed it like 70 times in that show.
People say Roz. Some people say Raish. Whatever. Okay. Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul takes General Zod's body and turns him into Doomsday.
You're close. You're close. You know what the plot of this is? I think Zack Snyder may have read this book, though, for real. And he just said, how can I screw this up as much as possible. Like, just do the opposite of everything in this book. Look how happy that cover looks, by the way. Like, just
super happy, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a black background.
Yeah, not happy, but hopeful. Let's say it looks hopeful and triumphant if you're watching this online. But yeah, black background. I can hardly see Batman because his costume blends in. But here's the premise. Ra's al Ghul basically gets control of Bizarro, so not Zod, and he tasks Bizarro to steal a bunch of former Soviet nuclear warheads. And similar to his plan in Batman Begins, he basically wants to cleanse the whole world instead of just Gotham like in Batman Begins. And he's got control of Bizarro, and there's another Amazonian working with him. So basically, the Trinity has to come together for the first time. This is the story of their first meeting, and take down Bizarro and Ra's al Ghul. And man, it is like confirmed epic. Like, please pick this up, like John and Everett, if you have not read it, because it is fantastic. Like, anytime I want to hate DC, I just look at this book and I'm like, maybe one day. But that's it for my week in Geek. I'm sorry it was so long, but that was all good stuff. Like, I really wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, so unless you guys have anything else you want to throw in there, we'll get to the news for the week, and we'll just hear what you guys think about that, because people are tired of hearing me talk. So let's talk about. Oh, here we go. Maybe I'll save that for last. Let's start with some happy stuff here. Okay, well, this is a little old, but I wanted to talk about it. So Micheal Keaton's going to play a Spider-Man villain in Spider-Man Homecoming, coming out in, I think, July 2017. It's Marvel's doing it, but Sony's co-producing it. The rumor is he's going to play Vulture, which I think is very cool, but that's a complete rumor. It could be any other villain, who knows. I'm hoping for Vulture, but it's interesting because Raimi wanted to do Vulture, and so did they want Vulture in the Mark Webb movies, and that Sinister Six, they teased it for what they wanted to do with that, but it never, made it to the big screen. So, John, what do you think about this, man? Micheal Keaton, Batman, maybe freaking playing the Vulture.
Yeah, I joked in when the news first came out. I joked in the group chat. I said this will get him his first Oscar. So, and I mean, Micheal Keaton's awesome, and if he's Vulture, it's even better. Marvel, they're killing it right now. I mean, they really are, and they keep hitting home runs. He's gonna nail it if he plays Vulture, which he probably will. But yeah, no, it's pretty awesome news. I'm still waiting. I want to see Bryan Cranston play a villain in a Marvel movie so bad.
Heisenberg.
I think he would kill. He would just be an awesome villain. But I'm not trying to take anything away from Micheal Keaton. But yeah, I think he'd be really good. That would be really cool to see. Maybe he'd be a really compelling villain. Like, they could add some depth to him because of the actor they have in Micheal Keaton. Instead of just making him like Thor the Dark World type of villain, where it's like, okay.
Oh, Malekith, the Dark Elf, man! Don't hate on Malekith. I'm just kidding.
Or yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, it's cool. I mean,
is it confirmed that he's Vulture?
No, it's confirmed that he's a villain. It's confirmed he's in talks for a villain role. Okay.
Right. I feel like he wouldn't make a good Vulture, and he would make a much better Norman Osborn. And I know we've had Norman Osborn in like every Spider-Man franchise that they've tried, but I mean, if they had him just, someone has to hire the Vulture, right? The Vulture's not just going to come after Spider-Man. Like, I don't know, Micheal Keaton, he's not old enough to be the Vulture for me.
They'll put some age makeup on like they did Leo and J. Edgar.
Like, I want to see, oh man, what the hell's that guy's name? That bald guy that they made the movie about being inside of him.
John Malkovich.
John Malkovich. I want to see him as the Vulture, man.
Well, guess what, Everett? He was going to play the Vulture in Spider-Man 4. Sam Raimi had, that was his pick. He was going to have his daughter, played by Anne Hathaway, be the Vultress.
Yeah, well, if he wouldn't have made freaking Peter Parker dance down the street in a bunch of emo clothes, he might have gotten that.
Yeah. That
But
script's online, by the way, if you want to read it.
oh, yeah, I might
Spider-Man
actually check
4.
that out. But I think they need like an older guy. I mean, Michael Keaton, I mean, he's getting older, but if he gives up the freaking Beetlejuice role to play Vulture, I'm not going to be very happy.
Here's my thing with Vulture is he's one of the only like original Spider-Man villains they haven't done yet. Of course, and by original I don't mean like even Green Goblin. I mean like those first 10 issue villains. Like they've done Doc Ock, they've done the Lizard, they've done Elecktra. You know, these are all of some of Spidey's like original foes. So I do think in that aspect it's going to be really cool to see the Vulture. I do agree with Everett. I think he'd be a better Norman Osborn, and it'll be interesting like how they portray the Vulture, whether it's Keaton or not. Will it just be the old criminal who was the engineer? Will he have the ability to steal people's age like he did in the 90s comics and in the 90s cartoon? I think that makes him more interesting. Now, will that look compelling on screen? It may look cheesy, so they may not do it, but here's my thing, and I agree with John. It's not just Marvel, though. It's Disney. Disney can touch a turd, and it turns to gold. I mean, Jungle Book. Yeah, you got Jungle Book out. You got Civil War coming out. They've got control of Spider-Man. Like, the Netflix shows are killing it, man. They're like a snowball rolling downhill that not even
big golden turd snowball.
And the bad thing is, Mr. Freeze, our Killer Frost, cannot stop this snowball. It's crushing right over DC, man. It's crushing right over him. But
I think the age-stealing Vulture would be their best bet because you've got this super young high school age Spider-Man. What's worse for like a high school kid the worst thing that happened to them? Well, they get turned old. They like lose all of their adulthood basically, and now
they
they're
get
an old dude.
arthritis in their hands and they can't use their smartphone.
Yeah, like if he steals Spider-Man's age and he has to like come up with some like I don't know. I feel like in the '90s cartoon he had like a giant gun that turned him back.
Yeah, that big yellow gun. I had an action figure of that thing, man.
That would be cool. I
That
want a movie with Mysterio in it. Get with it, Disney. Turn that turd into gold.
Yeah. I would love to see Mysterio too, man. Like, I really would. And that was always the rumor that, God, what's his name? Evil Dead guy was going to play Mysterio. He was in all the Raimi films. My friend Jerry's going to kill me because he loves this guy. Oh, my God.
Call him Evil Dead guy.
He's Ash from the Evil Dead. I'll remember his name here in a minute. I don't like to look stuff up. I like to try to do it like the old way. His name is
something Campbell?
Yeah. Yeah, it is Campbell. That's right. Bruce Campbell.
Oh,
there you go. Look at Everett with those first names tonight. Look at that.
That was John, man. I was just like, hey, I know a Campbell. Nev Campbell.
But yeah. So let's move on to one quick thing before we get into our discussion. Guys, I wrote up a story that had typos that John edited for me, and we were rushing to get it up on the site. We were rushing to get it up on the site because this was earth-shattering news.
Did you not want to talk about Willem Dafoe being cast in Justice League?
William Dafoe's in Justice League? I didn't know that.
Yeah, man, he's being cast in Justice League. Who do you think he's going to be?
Green Goblin? I'm just kidding. I don't know.
He's going to be a good guy.
Are you screwing with me, or are you serious?
No, Willem Dafoe is going to be a good guy.
A good guy in Justice League. Wonder
He's
who
not,
he can
they
play.
didn't say hero or superhero, but they said good guy. So I don't know. You're the DC guy. I figured maybe you'd have an idea.
How about past tense? I was the DC guy.
All right, tell us why you were the DC guy.
No. Before I'll tell you that in a minute. But like I'm trying to think of who Dafoe could play in DC, like in a Justice League movie. Maybe somebody that Steve Trevor works for, or.
I heard someone joke that he could be Dr. Fate, but I doubt they would do that.
That would be cool, but yeah, I doubt they would do that at this point. Heck, they can't even get Superman off the ground. They ain't gonna go with Dr. Fate, man. That would be like Marvel, like following Iron Man up if Iron Man sucked with Doctor Strange.
Right.
That'd be like terrible, but like I could see
Iron Man 2 and 3.
I mean, Iron Man 2 especially. I actually love the first hour of Iron Man 2, and then it just kind of falls apart there in that second half. But yeah, all right, that's news to me. So you caught me off guard. William Dafoe and Justice League. Wow. Well, I'll think about it, and I'll tweet it out in the morning when I wake up. All right, Rita Repulsa, guys. That was the news that John and I wanted to get out there. This beloved 90s villain, Rita Repulsa, from the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and she does not look like a Rita Repulsa. She looks like she is a member of the Serpent Society mixed with Divatox, mixed with Poison Ivy. Like, what the hell, guys? What did y'all think of this?
Lizard's wife.
I don't know. I think she looks hot, but whatever. She doesn't look like Rita.
I mean, give me some nod. At least give her the same staff or something, you know, like
No, they just needed the two like weird hair horns on her head.
Yeah.
Like where's that? Like now she just looks like Charlize Theron in armor.
There's just no nod.
Yeah, that's what I
man.
thought it was.
What did you think of Rita, John? I mean, I don't know if you were a big fan of the Power Rangers growing up, but I may have been after your time.
I remember. Her character was weird. I remember she was like that lady.
She made my monster grow.
I remember her.
She made monsters grow.
Yeah. No, I remember her character. This is completely. She looks completely different from the original. But you know they gotta go. I mean, I guess they want to go with the cooler, sexier, like check me out type of deal now. I guess I don't know. The
Zack Snyder interpretation.
Yeah, this is weird.
Honestly, Brad, if you would have showed me that picture and not told me it was Rita, and you were like, "This is going to be the main villain for the Aquaman movie," I'd be like, "Oh shit, awesome!" Like seriously, she looks like someone from a DC film.
Or you could tell me like she's Mara or whatever.
Mara. Well, she just needs the red hair. You should recolor. We should Photoshop that to red hair and be like, "Oh my God, it's Mira."
I was talking to one of my best friends, and he is, you know, we like Power Rangers since we were a kid, for God's sakes. I mean, growing up. But as you grow up and you look back at the show, I mean, it's cheesy as all get out. It's not like looking back on Ninja Turtles where that first season's dark before they sold out. The comic's really dark. The first movie's really dark, and they're like as grounded as Talking Turtles can be, for God's sakes. But like, it's freaking Power Rangers, dude. Did we really expect it to be that good? I mean, did we really?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't.
If it's like a really if it's like Daredevil.
The comic book. Like,
whoa.
You're talking about the comic book?
No, I'm talking about if the movie were like the comic book, because the comic by Boom's been freaking awesome.
Well, I'm saying like the movie, all they need to do is get like Daredevil level choreography in like where they're fighting, and then when they call the Megazord, just play Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
That's all they need to do.
All you hear is
yeah. The Pacific Rim is basically just 2 hours of Power Rangers Zord versus monsters.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all they needed. Like I was just like, when I would have loved this as a kid, as a Power Ranger fan, when I watched Pacific Rim. So.
Hell, I loved it. Now I love Pacific Rim. I went to the movies and saw that with that same friend, and I was like, this is the closest we will ever get to a Power Rangers movie.
Ivan News. I don't know, man. I was going to say X-Men Apocalypse is looking pretty close.
I meant like a actually good Power Rangers movie. I did not like the Power Rangers movie. Like, you want to talk about lack of continuity. Who the hell is that talking pig? I'm trying to figure it out, because it's not the pig from the show. Okay, it's not
Babe.
It's like some random pig. It's like if you're going to use the pig, you're going to have a giant talking pig. At least use the talking pig from your show. Like,
They had the Power Rangers Turbo movie. Had Kimmy and Tommy in it, and they like made out in a cave. That's all I remember.
And then they had that little kid be a Power Ranger, and I'm like, well, this sucks. Okay. Let's transition to
I'm just all in for the Red Ranger. Come on. Come on.
All right.
Grant Gustin.
People in the audience, just look them up. Good night, everyone.
Fucking Brad Bell is the host. Oh, shit.
All right. Our jokes have been a little bit crass, but I mean, this is an explicit rating on iTunes, so it's all good. All right, my last bit of news leads us into the discussion topic. Since we don't have a guest, we're going to have a discussion. We all love comics here. I know Everett's a Marvel zombie. I love Marvel, but I have been a guy who has been kind of partial to DC in the past, and John, I think, would be somewhere in the middle. You enjoy stories from both companies, right, John?
Yeah.
So the news that we're kind of spinning this discussion out of is DC Rebirth. I've talked it to death. I've written articles on the website about it with much hated comments, so thank you for reading. Basically, they came out this week. Dan DiDio did, the head of publishing, co-head of publishing with Jim Lee for DC, and said, all right, DC Rebirth will have a very strong focus on continuity, not to the point that it's convoluted and it's like so beholden to continuity that the books struggle. But all of this is building up to building through a 2-year storyline that will culminate in August 2018 to a major story. Now, some people speculate that's a crisis. Some people speculate it's no event. It's just a big story. So who knows? That's the news item. And they also announced that 2 major characters will die and 1 major character will return at the start of DC Rebirth when Jeff Johns writes his big issue that's only going to be like $3, but it's going to be like 100 pages to kind of introduce us back to DC. Apparently, 52 just wasn't doing it for people, and I don't blame them. But I'm going to allow you guys to say anything you want to about this news, but here's the pitch for the discussion. And this comes out of me and Agasicles going back and forth on GroupMe, which is what we use to communicate behind the scenes on Geeks Worldwide. I was fed up. I was upset with DC. I'm tired of making every character be like Superman. They're killing Superman in the comics. It feels like there's no coherent direction outside of Scott Snyder's Batman. That is just a standalone, fantastic story. Been the best thing, in my opinion, in comics the past 5 years with Scott Snyder's Batman. I think John would second that. He loves Snyder.
Oh yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah, he got that big score, that big interview for us for Geeks Worldwide. But basically, I said, you know what? If I'm going to have to spend my hard-earned money on comics, and I do like reading physical copies, I'm going to spend it on Marvel, because even if I don't like their end destination, at least I feel like they know what the end destination is. They're building towards something. Now, that something may be another big event after big event, but it's something. And Agasicles' pitch to me is like, why do you have to like one or the other? Like, why can't you like both? Why do we tend to be, and we all do. Everett said when we started talking about comics in this podcast, he's a Marvel guy. When you talk to your friends about comics, if you talk to somebody new who you find out likes comics, you just say, yeah, but I'm a Marvel guy, or yeah, but I'm a DC guy, or yeah, I like Marvel, but Batman's my favorite character. Something to that extent. You clarify who you are, and I kind of want to respond to Agasicles by this. Okay, if I go to the store to buy a 12-pack of drinks and I prefer Coke, I'm gonna buy Coke. Now, if I'm over at Everett's house hanging out and he has Mountain Dew or Diet Pepsi,
RC Cola,
like we say in the South. All right, let's use Pepsi, because this is a good analogy right here. All right, so I like Diet Coke. That's my brand. I love it. It's delicious. I'm going to spend my money on it. Everett likes Diet Pepsi. All right, he gives me a Diet Pepsi at his house. I'll drink it. He's being very courteous. But if I had my pick, I would pick the Diet Coke. Now, there's also Mountain Dew, which is also made by Pepsi, okay? Now, I'll continue to drink Mountain Dew, but that's it from Pepsi. So here's my analogy. Mountain Dew is Batman. Like, I will continue to read Batman. I love that character. I have since I was a little kid. But everything else with DC, screw it. I'm just sticking with the Coke products, which is Marvel in this analogy. I know that's a long-winded way to get to this discussion. But why do we choose one over the other? And am I being ridiculous about my criticism of DC, just feeling like they have no direction? What do you guys think?
I feel like Judge Dredd is the RC Cola in this situation.
Yeah, nobody drinks freaking RC. Actually, they were taking them out of the vending machine at work. Nobody had bought them. They were giving them away for free, and I drink one. I've not drinking RC Cola. It stands for Royal Cola, but we call it Redneck Cola in the South. But,
shit. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's just... With Marvel, like, I'm already way too overwhelmed with this whole all-new, all-different stuff that's going on in Marvel. And, you know, I don't have all the money in the world to spend on comics, so it's basically if there's a heavy continuity, you're going to pick one or the other because who has the money to invest in the continuity of both?
Or the time.
Like, my favorite DC book, and it's the one DC book that I get every week, and I say week because it's a weekly book, is Injustice. And the only reason that I can really do that is because the Injustice books are in their own continuity. And so, like, I like Batman, Superman, and not the film, but the comic book characters.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And so I read Injustice to get my fill on them, and I feel like the Injustice continuity for me is the DC continuity, and then I just read Marvel for the rest of the time. So for me, it's all about just investment and investing money into it as well as investing interest into it.
So do you feel, Everett, to respond to your statement, do you feel that the average consumer, we're talking about time and money, really only has the time and money to invest in one of these universes, and that most people, that's one of the major reasons they pick one over the other?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes down to, like, you can go to, like, any kid in a school and ask them who their favorite like, hero is. And some will say Batman, some will say Superman, some will say Spider-Man, some will say Wolverine, some will say Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like, when those kids grow up, they're probably going to end up still, if they still like that hero, they're going to read that hero's comic. And then that hero's comic's going to drag them into whichever side they're in. You know, so I feel like it's all just about investing kind of fandom into whichever side you grow up with. Like, I grew up with Spider-Man and X-Men cartoons more than I did Batman the animated series.
What about you, John? What about this geek civil war? Should it be a civil war at all, or should we just embrace it all?
I know I split every medium kind of differently. So what I mean by that is the movies and, you know, the shows are separate in my mind to the comics. So for comics, the way I follow comics is I basically follow a certain or an artist direction. I really don't. In comics, I don't really say, oh, I just read Marvel books or I just read DC books. Because I'll pick up a lot of different comics from different people. Lately, it's been Marvel, funny enough, but that's just been by coincidence, really. It's just been like, oh, I want to read Kanan. I want to read Punisher because I'm interested in that from the show. Or two other ones that I haven't read that I have on my desk are All New X-Men, another Marvel, and then what's the other one? Darth Vader. So I didn't go into buying those things and saying, okay, I want to go in it for Marvel. That's what I'm invested in. Because I'm a huge Scott Snyder fan and I'll read his Batman run. And then there'll be other comics I want to read along the way, just for the sake of reading them, without really having a thought to who's the publisher or whatnot. I think you see that more so with the shows and the movies, where it's like, okay, you've got this huge cinematic universe, pick your side type of thing. And right now, Marvel's destroying it in that side of it. I think. Um, but for me, I'll take it all. I I really like what Marvel's doing. There's some stuff they kind of have pitfalls with, but I'm a huge fan of the shows that they have on Netflix. Um, the movies are really good, especially the last year, I'd say, for them has been great for them. Um, but DC has to pick it up in terms of movies and comics. But yeah, I'm one of those guys that I'm all for read anything. I'll watch anything dealing with comics because I just love it all.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm not gonna watch DC movies because whatever. I really just want it all. And I think that's what all. If you're a if you're a comics fan, a superhero, whatever fan, I think you should just really enjoy everything because this is a great time to be a geek and a nerd or whatever you want to call yourself. It's amazing, and just enjoy it. Really enjoy it. That's how I see it.
When I was in high school and college, I had one of my best friends in the whole world was that big Marvel zombie, and he would go and spend basically $40 a week on Marvel books. I mean everything: X-Men, the Hulk, the Avengers, before the movies were out. Okay, before the MCU.
Yeah.
And I would borrow his comics. He would lend them to me. I'd take them home. So I really got invested in the Marvel Universe. This is probably right around House of M, right before Civil War started in the comic books. So between 2005, 2006, and basically I found it so fulfilling to borrow his comics, and they were really unlike this Black Panther example where Everett said in the Ultimates he's fighting in space or whatever, and here he's on Wakanda trying to keep peace in his home country. At least at that point in time, everything was really tightly woven, when we were talking about continuity. And I found since I was investing so much time into this universe, it made it more rewarding. So that's kind of like stuck with me as I've read more and more Marvel books. I don't know if I find the continuity, as Everett mentioned earlier with Black Panther example, as tightly woven to that point as it was in the mid to early 2000s. But I just do feel like there's just an overall tone and cohesiveness to their universe that I know what to expect. I know I'm going to get good, fun adventure with most of their books. I know what characters to read if I'm going to really think and be challenged. And I know what characters to read if I just want like a blockbuster good time. And the thing with DC Rebirth is I think it's cool they're getting back to like what made their characters great. I hope they stop trying to make every character like Batman and actually let Superman be happy and be the Boy Scout, and they make that dynamic that defines the DC universe really thrive. But guess what? DC Rebirth, they always say these new number ones are a good chance to get people in the comics. They're also jumping off points for people, too. You got to think about that. And I'm jumping off, man, on DC. Like, I'm debating whether I'm going to read Batman or not. Like, I don't know. What, besides Snyder, like, what in their company, comics-wise, and you can even throw in movie-wise, let's take TVs out, because I love the DC TV shows.
Yeah, right, me too.
Let's take those out of it, but let's focus on comics here. But besides Snyder's Batman, and prove me wrong, maybe I'm missing something. I know y'all don't read a ton of DC, but, like, what's there? Why should I come back to DC? Now that Snyder's done with Batman, I'll probably read his All-Star Batman, but like there's no like, man, what they're doing with this character is awesome, or they're bringing in this new writer. It seems like instead of developing the young writers that they have and giving them opportunities to thrive, like the people such as Brandon Fletcher or Becky Cloonan, they just cast those people aside to bring back people like Greg Rucka, who I love Greg Rucka. He's a legend. He was so awesome. He was on our podcast a couple weeks ago. But, like, you got to cultivate your young talent. You know, it's kind of like a NFL team. You keep playing old people, eventually, guess what? They're going to get old and retire, so you have to be constantly grooming their replacement or their successor. But
We're just buying more like the Patriots, right, John?
Yeah.
well, the Patriots got Tom Brady, and he's like the exception to like every rule. Like the dude does not age, but that's what happens when you watch tape of every other team and get their practice.
I'm just giving John a hard time.
But me and Agasicles and I are going to do a special podcast on this, and God knows, I hope I'm ready for his challenging questions. It's going to be like it's going to be like being given a testimony to the Supreme Court or something. But
well, I do find it funny that my favorite Marvel books right now are the DC clones. Like Hyperion and Squadron Supreme, they're like the Squadron Supreme team that they have right now it's such a rip-off of the Justice League that I love it. And there was a scene in the most recent issue of Squadron Supreme where they're in like their like base building.
Their watchtower.
Yeah, base. Well, it's almost like the weird building that has like the arches, like the original Justice League building.
The Hall of Justice.
Hall of Justice. It looks exactly like that. And on the inside, they've all these cases, and they have like this big green lantern, and they have like a mask that looks way too much like Hawkman's mask, and they have all this just hilarious. They have a trident in the back, like in a trophy case. It's just I don't know. It's just such fun to see Marvel kind of poke fun at DC, and any book that can kill off Namor by Superman just lasering his head off, and then having Green Lantern kick Namor's head across the ground. That's just amazing.
Marvel's doing DC better than DC, but it sounds I set like aside a certain budget for comics a month, and it can vary. I mean, I could go up to $100 or $80 if I wanted to, but I try to keep it around $60 or so a month, maybe 66, around what a video game would cost, okay? And like, it's so easy to cut the DC stuff, man. Like, I have the money and the time to invest really in one of these publishers, and like, what is keeping me toward DC? I know I sound like a broken record, and everybody's like, give Rebirth a chance, give Rebirth a chance. Well, like, DCU worked. I thought I liked DCU, talking about YOU, the publishing initiative. They went up completely away from that. Like, that was, to me, like really modern, progressive, 21st century storytelling. But they said, no, that's not working. So instead of that, let's go back to like 1998 style storytelling. And I don't know, man. I will have to get further into this at another time. Read my article about DC and Marvel and Rebirth, and my article about that one shot, and leave me more negative comments on there, and go on Reddit and find the article, and you can be even harsher to me on there. But know that the reason I write this stuff, and I write 1,700 word editorials on it and work my butt off on it and make Casey edit the crap out of it, is that I love these characters, guys, and like, I want them to be great. I want them to thrive. I want them to be who they are, and let people like Superman be an inspiration instead of a fear. So like, all that hate comes out of love, and I hope people know that. But at this time, not enough hate/love to keep me around DC, I don't think. That may change. That may change when Rebirth comes out. Who knows? But
every time you say Rebirth, I think Afterbirth, and it's just horrible. DC Afterbirth.
I think I've like bashed DC enough for the night, so I'm done. If you guys are, is there anything I want to bring to the table before we sign off here?
No, I watched the Supergirl finale. It was okay. It was pretty dumb for the most part, but it was okay. I think season 2 of Supergirl will be hopefully much better. We'll have to see. Legends Tomorrow, meh, it was okay.
That feels like I'm watching Power Rangers when I'm watching that show.
Oh yeah, because there's so many of them. they need to get rid of we need one of those CW shows to not have any romance in it, and I think that one's a really good one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the Kendra and Ray relationship is such trash, and that show would be much better without it. But and then the Lucifer, Lucifer is one of the best DC TV shows on right now, and it's got its finale next month or next Monday, which is almost next month. So yeah, I'm getting tired. So the penultimate episode is on this Monday, and I have yet to watch it. But
there's a fancy word, penultimate. Wow. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Might as well say zeitgeist. That's the word I like to use that I've made fun of by my friends. Excuse me for trying to have an expansive vocabulary, even though I'm from the South. Okay. What about you, John? We'll do our closings in a minute, but anything you just want to throw out there in general, or no?
Man, just what? Well, I have to watch that tonight. The Flash is back, so I watched that show because I like it. But Grant Gustin, man, that's a person.
That's a person. Yeah.
But I was gonna say, if you haven't watched Star Wars Rebels yet, you're really selling yourself short.
I'm 6 episodes behind, John. On
my God!
Yeah, I gotta watch the finale. I've just been.
The finale's insane.
I know.
I mean, not just the finale. I mean, the whole show's incredible, but man.
I was watching House of Cards and Fuller House.
I know, there's so much stuff.
Jones and Daredevil.
Don't waste your time with Fuller House.
Hey, me and Everett already reviewed that.
I watched the first episode. I said, "Wow, this is a great nostalgia bomb." I'm done.
Yeah, me too.
I watched it. I was like, "Oh shit! Wow! And I was like, "Okay, I can't."
If you want to hear Everett and my thoughts on it, check out my podcast, the Confirmed Epic Podcast, in which we review that. So shameless plug there. Yeah. But I will say this: Everett and a few of my other friends tried to really finally just push me toward watching Jessica Jones, and I finally did. I loved it. Fantastic show. I agree with Everett. Kilgrave may be the best MCU villain. It's like Kilgrave and Kingpin and Loki. Those are the three great villains in the MCU. They got to match those at some point here soon.
Yep. Loki's taking the exit.
Yeah, so they need to find somebody.
He's the night manager now.
Oh, I know.
Hopefully Thanos will be badass.
Let's hope so.
They've hyped him up so much, we'll see.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for the 136th edition of the Capes Podcast.
That's a lot of capes.
That's a lot of capes on the GWW Radio Network. So, Mr. John Reyes, where can people find more of you on the internet this week?
At Wordy Nerdy all the time on Twitter, just always there, So just find me at Wordy Nerdy.
And breaking epic news every day on
I don't know about that.
GWW.com or editing my news piece,
which I did terrible with today.
That's okay. We still love you. We still love you. All right, Everett, what about you, my friend?
You can find me on Twitter at @TheEverwritten, and you need to, if you're a fan of Jessica Jones or Daredevil or Arrow or The Flash or The 100, check out the Netflix crew or Lucifer. Well, yeah, I write Lucifer articles, but check out the Netflix crew on GWW Radio. There's a playlist on our SoundCloud. It's me and Sarah. We're two giant nerds. Sometimes we have guests, and we break down all those episodes really well. It's funny. Sometimes John's on there.
I listened to some Daredevil ones, man. They were good. Keep up that good work. You and Sarah have a real good dynamic going on in that podcast. I know
she loves me.
Yeah, who don't?
She loves me. John's been a witness to it.
Who don't love a Southern? You're a Southern Swede. Who doesn't love that? Right? I mean,
that's right.
As for me, find me at TheReal, REEL, Brad Bell on Twitter. Find me breaking epic news on GWW.com. Check out my podcast, which is on GWW.com. Confirmed Epic Podcast, in which I am able to talk about whatever I want, whenever I want. So thank you, GWW Radio, for letting me put that on there. And until next time, we are out.